What's poppin', world? Y'all tapped in with the Head of the Game podcast. Yeah, once again, we got a controversial discussion that we got to talk about this morning. Without further ado, y'all read the title. Let's get into it. Now, this video is based off a conversation that I had over a couple of days ago. I'm gonna just be transparent with y'all, right? So I'm single. So, the whole dating app aspect, in my early 20s, I was really heavy on it because I just felt like it just had a different complexion to it, different kind of access, different approach, right? And I just feel like with social media and everybody trying to monetize and, clickbait and, fake profiles and catfish and all this other stuff, the more and more dating apps became a little bit untrustworthy, right? So I was watching this video, long story short, and I came across this app called Bumble, right? And just to put y'all brothers up on game, if y'all in the same boat as me, Bumble, more so times than not, I believe, I ain't been on there a lot, when you get a match with a woman, it's up to the woman to then write you back. So it pretty much puts the pressure on the female to initiate the conversation. And more so times than she does, the good thing for you guys, or us, is that she must really be interested, because for one, not every chick matches with every guy. And even if they do match with you, they might take a second or third look at your profile and maybe choose somebody over you. So, if they go out their way and write you first, which most females are pros to initiating conversation, then pretty much it's playing in your favor, right? But let me get to the point of this video. So, I end up talking to this girl. She ended up writing me or whatever. And what ends up happening is that she wants to video call me, but I didn't know there was a video call feature. So she video calls me, the conversation goes pretty well, and then she's like, okay, well, here's my number. Maybe we could, keep in touch or talk in person, because I'm really interested in you, And the thing about her is, college educated, double bachelor's, just very school orientated, self-educated, which I'm attracted to because I like women that can make up their own mind and their own ideas, right? Still looking for leadership, but also have the ability to think for themselves instead of just, going along to get along, or just pretty much blowing with the wind, And so we had a second conversation, maybe like a week later, maybe like 5 days later, right? So we're on the phone, and the conversation's going well because it first starts off with like, hey, what kind of books do you read? And how do you, assess books on what is and what isn't important? So we're having a very stimulating, sophisticated, intelligent conversation, right? And here's where things kind of took a turn for the worse. And here's my whole point of this video, right? So once we got past the whole educational aspect, and then we started comparing and contrasting ideologies and perspectives, far as we're pretty much politicking, right? So we're sitting up here sharing our values and our perspectives as far as what is and what isn't, as far as in the world, society, so on and so forth, right? So it gets to a point to where we pretty much start talking about privilege, right? Not like privilege, but I could tell that she's privileged. And there's nothing wrong with being privileged or fortunate or blessed. I just feel like the greater the privilege, the greater responsibility, right? To then understand it, to see things that you have to have more empathy. I feel like the more privileged you are, to stay grounded and not allowing your circumstance to dictate and measure your character, right? Because anything can drop on a, change on the drop of a hat, and not allowing what you are to be who you are, but being who you are to be what you are. I mean, if that makes sense, right? My bad, y'all. Just sitting up here trying to get to work and stuff like that. Excuse me, sir. My bad. All right, so we're she gets to talking about, like, things in, like, in the community and things like that, and also as well, like, not to say I felt challenged, because I didn't, but I do feel like I'm a great man of context and balance, right? And I'm gonna get to an example right before I make this point. Then I'm gonna get to the example what was made. So pretty much, I was giving her a history lesson, right? Because in my aspect, what's reasoning or measuring out, the context of a situation, if you don't look at it from a historical aspect of how did it get to one place before it gets to another, right? So, I just started, and I ain't gonna get into all the nuances of the historical context that I was giving her that led to my perspective and my insight of what I felt and how I felt and where do I come with my direction on things, right? But it got to this part. So she was saying that men, women should go back and let me see how much time I got with y'all, man. All right, I got a little bit more time with y'all. So she was talking about men and women, when they get to a certain point of success, they should then reach back and take care of their parents, right? And me, I'm all about context. I'm not a one size fits all kind of person. I feel like there is a general approach, but then there's a case-by-case study on how each situation should be handled, because not every situation has the same amount of variables, right? So I was basically telling her, and this is the kind of conversationist I am, right? So when somebody's giving me a perspective that I may not emphatically disagree with, but maybe I got a different perspective, I don't worry about proving you wrong. I'm more so am about proving me right by adding maybe a different perspective to the conversation to give you a different complexion of maybe where I'm coming from, just a different angle, So I had asked her this, right? Because I was sitting up there saying, like, hey, there are certain parents that do need the help, and maybe their kids just neglect them and, not be, not the, honor their parents or things of that nature. And then there's other parents where they're getting enabled and they're exploiting their children and they're living vicariously through it. So here's where I got her. And instead of her admitting the inconsistencies in her narrative, she wanted to add modifiers so that her argument can still be supported. So I was like, okay, well, you're taking care of your parents and you're giving back, right? To show your appreciation for your parents. But say if you were to have a son, would you expect him to have that same responsibility when you get to your parents' age and he gets to your age? She gonna sit up there and tell me that, oh, well, are we living in today's time where information is literally at the flip of a thumb? And I'm just like, okay, we have the most technology and access and information in probably modern history. But it's also true, people are more broke, you feel me, and going without in modern history as well, right? So she was just basically saying because of how she's positioned in her generation, she wouldn't have the same expectations as the generation before. And see, to me, I know you only could do with what's known at the time, but at the same time, there's no excuses. You feel me? Like, I don't want to say no excuses. There are exceptions to the rule, but by and large, people only succeeded. You can't say there was no such thing as success at whatever generation it was, unless there was some kind of, actual hard lines holding people back, right? So this is my point of the video, man. When you're privileged, you because I feel like I'm privileged to a certain extent. There are things that I've had limitations on, and maybe I've been afforded to have some of the privileges other people have. But like I said, it's a case-by-case situation, and I can't say I've had the best or the worst resources. I just gotta make the most out of what's at my disposal, right? And long story short, I stopped talking to her, or we stopped talking to each other. And here's the one thing that pissed me off, and I'm just leave it at this. She was sitting up there saying, because of my mind and the way that I approach stuff, that I should be going to youth centers, and there's a place for me to be more impactful into the community. Like, I'm not doing the work, right? Like, I'm not talking to y'all right now and putting in work and actually trying to put an impact, you feel me? An impression, to give information and perspective and research and talk things of the substance to y'all, right? Like, I'm not trying to grow this platform. She gonna sit up there and make a preconceived misconception as if I'm just a man of all talk, and she gonna reference me to some places where I could be most influential. Like, shut your ass up. Get off my phone, man. So, with that being said, yeah, man, that's the point. So, if you're privileged, as what does that say? I don't want to mess up the Spider-Man quote, but with great power comes great responsibility. So, I'm gonna leave it at that. You got any thoughts, concerns, comments, leave them below. Thanks for watching. Comment, like, subscribe. I'm up out of here.